welcome back to my channel. It's time for another cozy car review. Yay! So today we're going to talk about the books that I read in January, and let me tell you, honey, I am extremely proud of myself. Okay, very, very proud of myself. I read 7 books last month, and I typically don't read 7 books in a month. I typically read between 2 to 3, and apparently I had all the time in the world in January. January was honestly a challenging month. It was trial and error, and so instead of giving myself 12 months this year, we're only going to have 11 months of success, productivity, happiness, and all of that, because January was that girl. Anywho, so out of the 7 books that I have read, maybe about 3 of them I was just like, yes. I couldn't put it down. I was really excited. And then the other ones, they were just like, they were really good reads. So okay, let's go ahead and jump into it and get started. First book that I read in January was Zodiac Academy, The Awakening by Caroline Peckham. And so this one talks about Darcy and Tori and how they are living in the mortal world, so like our world, but they're really from Solaria, which is like a fae world, and they discover that they're fae, and they're not just regular fae, they're the royal fae. Like, they're like the lost royal kids, or they're like the lost royal fae babies. That's not probably how I should say it, but they're lost and now they're found, right? And so they're taken from the mortal world and then they're put into the Zodiac Academy. And like in my previous vlog, when I was talking about my winter TBR, books that I really want to read, blah blah blah, I was saying that I was really excited for this book because it talks about zodiacs, and I'm really into astrology and stuff. And what I loved the most about these twins, honey, was that we're twins. We're triplets. And that's because I'm a gem, they're a gem, and so it just made sense for us to, sync. So I was really loving them. I don't have a favorite. Darcy's my girl, Tori's my girl. I will say they kind of did. Overall, the book was really good. Okay, let me just jump in because I'm going on a tangent. Hold on. Okay, so what I love the fact that it was all about zodiacs, all about fae, all about like the mythical creatures that you read about in other fantasy books and stuff, but it kind of made sense when it came to like the zodiacs. I don't know, I think the author did a really, really good job taking like astrology and zodiac and things that a lot of people in the real world gravitate towards, or how they determine if they like somebody, and then took these mythical creatures like mermaids, aka sirens, dragons, all of that stuff, and put it together and made it make sense. Like, it made sense in my head. What I didn't love was the bullying. It was very heavy and it was a little triggering for me. I think it would be really, really triggering for those who have dealt with bullying in their life. And so for me, it was a little triggering. I did have to put it down. Calliope kept telling me, stop, I can't take it anymore. And I was like, girl, this book is so good. But then finally I listened to Calliope and she was just like, I can't take it. And so I couldn't take it either. And because I'm a girl's girl, I gave it to Calliope. So it took me a minute to read it. I would say it probably took me like 2.5 weeks to read that book. And normally something that good that I was really enjoying, it would probably take me like 4 to 7 days, like a full week. So I would rate this book a 3.5 stars. It was good, and I think that as I continue reading the series, it's just gonna get better. Okay. So the next book that I read was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And this is not one of the books that I DNF'd by Sarah J. Maas within this series. This was just a book I never read. Like, I went straight into Throne of Glass and then moved forward. So when I was talking to my coworker bestie, She was like, why didn't you read The Assassin's Blade? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, girl. So I was like, okay. So I read that book, and I finished that book in 2 days. It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed the background story. A lot of it made sense to me. I say that because if I read it beforehand, I would have been confused, and I probably would not have continued on with the series because I was confused and thrown a glass. Even though it was an easy read, it just wasn't clicking in my head. Like, the light bulb honestly didn't go off for me until maybe the second book in that series. And I pushed through because I liked what I was reading. It's just that it wasn't making sense. So now that I've read The Assassin's Blade, I still haven't finished the last 2 books in the series, and y'all know why. I got beef with one of the characters. I'm trying to get over it, but I'm holding this grudge. Oh, I will say that it actually helped me understand Selena a lot better. I was able to really empathize with her and sympathize with her, especially when it came to Sam and losing him the way that she did. Because he's mentioned in the other books, but they don't really go into detail about him. So now that I know who he really was to her, it was really messed up. I thought his death was messed up, but like, I'm not with it. And I'm happy that she did what she did. And I hope she do it again, given the opportunity. Okay, so what I loved about this book was everything. I loved everything, like I said. I'm really happy that I read it. When I did, it made all the sense in the world. What I didn't love was the pain that Selena went through just to become the assassin that she was. Like, she's a baddie, right? But I really feel like all the work that she had to put in to become that baddie, it makes me question, like, was it really worth it? Like, I understand it's for her survival, but I don't know. Like, there's only so many broken bones that somebody should have to deal with. And then I didn't like her portrayal from the people that took her in, basically helped like raise her, train her to become the assassin that she is, and then betrayed her the way that they did. That's how you know that she's a threat. Well, she was a threat. And I understood that a lot better now that I read that book. Again, like I said, if I read this book first before I went into the series, I would have been confused, and it probably would have taken me a lot longer. Like, I wouldn't have just stopped reading the last 2 books. I probably would have read Assassin's Blade and then half of Throne of Glass and then called it quits. I would rate this book a 4. We're going to give it 4 stars. This next book, I really thoroughly enjoyed. It was a good read. It was just one of those like cozy reads. I read this book in 2 days, honey. 2 days. And that's just because I loved it. So it's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Anybody that really knows me knows that I am a true Harry Potter fan. I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter was like my first like introduction into the fantasy world, and I've been hooked ever since. And so it brought me back to when I was reading it, I felt like I was watching the movie in my head, literally. And it made me feel all cozy inside, all happy inside. I was like, oh my God, I really liked it. Like, I was getting giddy. There were parts in the book that I don't remember reading when I was younger, but mind you, it's been almost 20 years. Let me not tell my age, but it's been almost 20 years since I've read this series. And so I don't remember what I was reading or what but I do remember how I felt, which was happy and interested. But this time around, reading it again, I felt like I said, I was watching the movie. So I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I got my Harry Potter fix. What I loved about it, obviously everything. There's no cons to it. And I would rate this book a 5. It's just a 5 because it's Harry. This next book that I read was a very short book. I essentially picked it up. I got it from my local library. I essentially picked it up because the cover was interesting. It showcased a Black woman wearing a cat mask, and I love cats a lot. I got 2 cat sons. So I just felt like when I saw that book, let me read this book because it has cats in it. It must be about cats. And I wanted to pay homage to my 2 cat sons. So, so this book is called The Dead Cat Tales Assassins by P. Djeli Clark. And this book was written by a black author, a black male author at that. And, basically, it follows Evine, who's an undead assassin, aka a zombie. But apparently, when I was reading the book, you can't say zombie when you're referring to the undead. So she basically is someone who died, and then in her afterlife, she basically committed to one of the goddesses. Her name is Ariel, and she's a goddess of assassins. And Evine was reincarnated to become an undead assassin. So it's interesting because, look, Evine, her character, she's an assassin, she's dead, but she still does a lot of the things that living, breathing people do. Like, she has an appetite, she eats. Even though she can't taste her food, she still has an appetite. Like, she still like has the urge to eat. So yeah, basically the synopsis of the book is she was contracted to do a kill, and when she went to go do that kill, the person that she was supposed to kill was a young girl, and when she looked at her face, it triggered a memory, and she wasn't supposed to have any memories. Like, when she was reincarnated, like, her past life and everything was like erased. So it was like she was literally born again, and she shouldn't have any memories of her old self. Yet this particular person that she's contracted to kill makes her have a memory of something that occurred in her past life. And so that's where the story kind of goes. And her and the little girl, they try to figure out what they mean to each other, how they got here, and while they're trying to figure all of this out, other undead assassins are trying to kill them. And so, yeah, it was a really, really good read. It was interesting. It was very short. It was like, I would say it was like 250 pages, give or take. Yeah, it was a good book. It was a good book. It was short and sweet and to the point. I would rate this book a 3-star. Like I said, it was good. It was a good little short book. Okay, so the next book that I read was called 180 by Charity Shane, and I really like this book. It was an urban fiction book, and like I've told you guys before, I'm really trying to get into other genres, and I've been picking back up urban fiction. I really like this book. It was so cute. It was so juicy. Charity Shane is, she's a good writer, and it was a very easy read. I really enjoyed the characters. Gideon and Rianne, they are so cute together. I really liked their story. I liked Rianne's story. It really talked about a lot of the things that Black women go through from a healthcare standpoint that is not really talked about. And then and I loved her strength and the support that she had from her family as well. I loved Gideon because his intensity, honey, it's everything that you would want in a man. Okay, like something that is, I'm gonna make sure you're good, but you can't talk to anybody. Girl, that sounds so toxic. Okay, let me reel it in. Okay, but for real, like, to be honest, I liked Gideon because he was just the whole package. Like, yes, he was involved in some things that I normally would not be with somebody with, but again, like, I love delusion, and I like to live in a world that I normally the real me would not live in. So I was Rianne. I was like, Gideon is mine, and I liked it. The real me, like the flesh and bones me, would not be accepting of a lot of things that Rianne was accepting when it came to Gideon. But there are women in the real world that like men like that. Like, who's gonna tell me what to do, when to do it? And I'm gonna say yes. That's not me. I'm not your girl for that. But being the delusional person that I am, I was for that. So I really like this book a lot. Really like this. So the next book that I read was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and this is a part of my winter TBR. I literally just put it in a pile because it's winter time and it was on my bookshelf. I was like, what the heck, let me read it. But I'm gonna say this, it was really, really good. Like, I really enjoyed reading that. Anastasia, however you pronounce her name, I liked her character a lot. She was aggravating sometimes, but I really did like her character. Because she kind of reminded me a little bit when it came to like being a part of that hustle culture. I understand what it takes when you want something, you have to put in the work. And that is what I loved about her determination and her drive. I really liked Nathan. He was a cutie. I hated her friend. I don't think she surrounded herself with well-to-do people before she met Nathan and got really into like the hockey team thing. But overall I really liked the story. It was a cute read. I read it in about maybe a week. No, I lied. I read it in maybe 2 weeks because I put it down and picked up another book. But it was a good read. I would rate this book a 3-star. I would recommend anybody to read it. Okay, last but certainly not least, last book that I read this month was, drumroll, is Fat Girls Dance by Kathleen Meredith. I loved this book, y'all. It was such a fun read. So basically it's about 3 girls who are 3 plus size girls who are tired of being body shamed, who are tired of being like rejected, especially in the dance world, but just in everyday life based off of their size. And so they all come together and they decide to post weekly dance videos of them just getting it. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all can relate. Y'all are scroll on TikTok, scroll on the IG, and y'all see them dancing, you see them bucking and stuff like that, and you'd be like, oh, she can dance for a big girl. And it's like, so they talk about that, they highlight that in their weekly dances. And it's like, why does it have to be, oh, she can dance good for a big girl? Why isn't she can't just dance? And for me, I related to this story in so many ways, and it was definitely given like the more I read it, like when I finished this book, I was like, oh my God, like I started doing some research, honey. And I found out that this book is based on a real life movement by the author. It's called the Fat Girls Dance Movement. And it's something that is still going on to this day. It also reminded me of Lizzo's show, Big Girls. And I love me some Lizzo, honey. I love me some Lizzo. And I loved that show. That's a show that my husband and I were watching, and we just loved it. We loved the body positivity. We loved the empowerment that those women were not only giving each other, but like they were giving to other girls. It had me in my feels because I understand what it's like to be body shamed. I understand where a lot of those women were coming from. And so to be on a show like that, to not only show off their skill set, because honey, they can dance and they were killing it every single time, but to also use that platform as an opportunity to grow as a woman and to really show that industry that you don't have to be, you could be whatever size that you want to be and you can still get it. You can still be successful. So yeah, I loved it. Loved that show. And so that's what this book reminded me of. I would highly, highly, highly recommend reading this book and really doing some research and looking into the Fat Girls Dance Movement. It is empowering. It's just beautiful. And it's just beautiful. And Kathleen Meredith wrote a beautiful book. The movement is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just the whole thing is beautiful. What I loved about this book, I loved everything about this book, honey. Loved everything about it. Yeah, I would rate this book a 4.5 star. And I would recommend that everybody read it. Everybody support the movement. 4.5 stars, y'all. Must read. It's a must read. So that is all the books that I have read in January. I'm excited for the books that I'm reading in February. Comment below the books that you've read, or if you all have read any of the books that I read. Give me your opinions, your comments, all of that jazz. Comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on my next one.